What woke you up? What made you from a Democratic Obama supporter to the national ambassador of Jexit, Jews who have exited the Democrat Party? Guys, I don't know what to say, okay? We had the Amish come out, we had the Arabs come out, we had the blacks and the Latinos come out, the American Jews, I'm sorry. I tried, but all of Israel is for Trump.
Yeah, right.
Actually, since I brought up Israel, and it's another amazing beacon of light in our world, in Judaism, we have a prayer, okay? It is said, it's called the Shehecheyanu. And the Shehecheyanu is the blessing that thanks God for sustaining us, for allowing us to arrive at this moment, okay? So when we come to a moment, we say this on weddings, on births, on all the wonderful things. So if you know, you know. If you don't, it's okay. Just clap in solidarity. I'm going to say it in Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Woo! So, Am Yisrael Chai, you know, I didn't spend my hustling in these last few months engaging the Jewish community. Why? Because Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. I'm a psychotherapist. I can prescribe it. If the DSM was written by conservative professors, it would be in there. You cannot have a critical conversation with common sense thinking with someone who gets so emotionally triggered in their amygdala, rapist, criminal. I mean, you can't do it. So I didn't get I didn't get very far with the Jews, but I got very far, and I was greeted so warmly with the Christians. We love you guys so much. You know, I was at NRB, this amazing conference that's held annually. Last year was in Nashville, this year it's in Texas. It's the National Religious Broadcasters Network. So this Jewish girl got to spend a week with 4,500 Christians. And can I tell you, it changed me. Aww. It changed me. And I left thinking the Christians will save us. It's the silent majority of Christians who will get this country back on track. So thank you, Christian allies. Let's make America Judeo-Christian again.
Yes.
Right. We did it, Joe. Remember that? I'm sorry. It's just, you know what we kept saying? So we turned the page. Right. We're not going back. Oh my God. Sorry.
You're not.
Throwing it in there. You know, it's funny because I'm sure we all got the same messages from each other. We did it, because we, the people, really did it. It's the people who showed up. This country is by the people, for the people. Yes. We are the people. And our Constitution was not created to give us our rights. Our Constitution was created to have our Judeo-Christian values, our inherent freedoms to not be infringed upon. So, you know, I'm sure we have some liberal friends who are not so happy. Listen, I'd like to think we're, you know, the better party. We're not going to rub it in their face. We're not going to gloat. We can a little bit. But I wanted to read you guys the text message that I wrote to my very, very sad and disappointed liberal friend, okay? I want you to hear what I wrote because this has been shared many times now. And if you need a copy to send to a liberal friend or family member near you, just come and see me, okay? So this is what I wrote. This is a red wave, my friend. Even the popular vote is Trump's. Perhaps you will consider that legacy media has completely lost touch with the reality of what the American people are feeling. It gets to a point where people just stop buying the crap that has been fed to them. Last night was one of the most validating, happiest days of my life. But that doesn't mean I can't have empathy that it meant the opposite for you. Just put your guard down a little bit. Relax and see how much better this country is going to be even in just 6 months' time. Yeah. Last night was the right time for Trump to be returned because now he has the dream team with him. RFK will make America healthy again. Elon Musk will make the government accountable again. And we have Tulsi and Vivek and JD Vance and a whole other wonderful people. Just let go, live life, and reserve your judgment. We, as a country, have self-corrected. So, it feels great. The other thing I want to say, I don't know if you can relate to this, but it physically felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. Did you guys feel that? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like when you were living in the energy of years of being in the defensive, of having to try to prove yourself. And if you're an Israeli after October 7th, that was times 1,000. It takes a toll. You know, your body is used to like fight or flight cortisol at any moment, especially living in California. And I am on TikTok, so you don't have to be. So it's not for everyone. But finally, I felt like, job well done. I can take my hat off, right? And what, now that we have this relaxed energy, what else can open up for us? And where do we go from here? Because if Trump got in office but didn't have the House and didn't have the Senate, where would we be?
It'd be the same thing.
In Judaism, we have another concept called Dayenu. Dayenu means it's already enough. And we say this at Passover, at the Seder table, when we were Jews freed from Egypt to go to Canaan, which became Israel. We say Dayenu. Dayenu that you let us free from Egypt. Dayenu that you gave us the 10 Commandments. Dayenu this, Dayenu that. Today was the Dayenu. Dayenu that we have Trump. Dayenu that we have the Senate. Dayenu that we're getting the House. Dayenu we have the popular vote. Dayenu, baby. Dayenu. I mean, literally, guys, we can just sit back and relax and let the dream team do their work. We don't have to prove and fight anymore. So I'm gonna.
Actually, we do. Yeah.
Well, yes. And for the fighters, especially because we're still behind enemy lines, I commend you and we salute you. You are the best of America. You are grassroots. And we will never, ever take that for granted. And we are here for you. But for people like me, before I shifted my brand to Jexit, to free thinking, maybe if you don't know this, but before COVID, when I was conservative curious, I had a different brand. In fact, I was on my way to Hollywood. I was, after my divorce, I became LA's premier divorcee success coach and dating expert. I was invited frequently on popular talk shows, and I was pitching a new show about divorce and like the reality of it, but in a fun way. And they said to me, "This is great, but you can never work in Hollywood if you say you're a Trump supporter." So I which is insane. We live in LA. I'm a proud American Jew. My dad's from Israel. Contrary to belief, he's not a European colonizer. His family was actually kicked out of Iraq and moved to Israel, came here for the American dream, had no money, no connections, no education, and he started as a car wash. And he worked his way up to a self-made millionaire. That was my example. So when they told me, hide your beliefs, I'm like, no freaking way. And I left Hollywood, and I never looked back. And I started going to the Trump rallies, and I was told that all MAGA supporters were white Christians. So when I got to the Trump rallies, and I'm seeing black people for Trump, Latino people for Trump, LGBT for Trump, Jews and Arabs for Trump, and everybody in between, I'm like, this is not what's being reported in the media. And I was very used to this skewed reporting because I was always a pro-Israel advocate. And I would see what the Pallywood camp would do. They would literally take clips from horror movies and say, look what the Zionists are doing. Or they would take things out of context from like Golda Meir, who talked about Palestine, even though she was referring to the Jews of Palestine. And I'm like, they're doing this to Trump. When he said very fine people, he wasn't talking about neo-Nazis. that was debunked 1,000 times, and still just last week Obama used it again.
Yeah.
Full on liars. Full on liars. By the way, if you were able to endure the Kamala concession speech,
That was
oh my God, could you imagine, guys? Could you imagine what press conferences would have been like? It's like almost verbatim Hillary Clinton's speech. Like even when she left, she had to be so inauthentic and like so plagiarizing and just not a real person to take seriously. So may she just sail off into the sunset with her word salad and her physically abusive husband. We don't claim him. He's Jewish. We don't claim him. We don't claim. Just know like three opinions. Jews, 3 opinions. 5 Jews, 7 opinions. That's just how it is. You can't put George Soros in the same boat as Ben Shapiro. Okay? Okay. So just don't lump us in. Okay.
Yeah.
So once you mess with my children's freedoms, you tell me as a taxpayer, my children have to get a vaccine to go to school. 5-year-old children. For an experimental vaccine that even if the children get COVID, they're not at risk for anything. You're going to tell me, you're going to tell my friends that they cannot work? They have no right to mitigate their own risk? So that really woke me up. You mess with my freedoms, you mess with my kids, now you have my attention. And I'm telling you, it's the mama bears and papa bears that have really fought to get this country back on track. I'm a proud mama bear patriot. And we had a lot of success. I worked with Perk, I worked with Nicole Pearson. We were able to push LAUSD's vaccine requirement from September, beginning of the school year, to all the way in December. What happened between September and December? Does anybody remember? Everyone who got vaccinated got Omicron.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So they could say the vaccine stops transmission or the vaccine prevents you from getting COVID, right? It was all BS.
Right.
So they lost the cases and the vaccine mandate was lifted for LAUSD. So we did have wins. So the other thing too, you know, I worked with the Larry Elder campaign. I was the Jewish voice for Elder. And wow, talk about seeing firsthand the corruption of California. You know, they called his recall for Newsom even before Orange County and Ventura County were counted. I still don't understand what happened. I really don't. I still don't understand why the 200,000 signatures that we had for Gascon were thrown away that day up. Do you guys remember that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Insane. Insane. So when I worked with Larry Elder and they branded him the black face of white supremacy. Remember he got egged by a crazy white woman? Like, remember that? And that wasn't reported? I'm like, Hollywood, we have a problem. We gotta rebrand the freethinker. So I decided, and a lot of these people are here tonight from this group, to create a platform for Hollywood people who are living and working in the industry, actors, writers, directors, who are free thinkers, but of course they can't say anything. You're blacklisted. I think the only loud and proud Republican at the time was John Voight.
Yes.
And John Voight was a part of a group called FOA, Friends of Aid. Is anyone familiar with that group?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was started by Gary Sinise, Jeremy Boring from Daily Wire. And I thought, you know what? It's time to bring FAO back with the next generation. And I manifested John Voight's phone number. And we connected and he invited me to lunch. And we hit it off so well. He's like, I'm going to give you Jeremy Boring's phone number. I'm like, I seriously have John Voight and Jeremy Boring in my phone? Like, what is my life right now? But I got their blessing to revamp FOA. And what started as 7 free thinkers in Cantor's Deli, we had 256 vetted industry professionals, all free thinkers, together. And I'm just like, and I'm so glad to see like 5 of them here. Like, raise your hand, Mo, Roxanne, Gina. These are all amazing creatives who are fighting the culture war, and we need you too. I mean, it's crazy what's happening to the Hollywood industry. It's really falling on itself, but we are no longer limited to California to make great cultural content.
Amen.
So we started the free arts, and it was great. And then I started doing, and then life happened again, and then I got national ambassador of Jexit. But I can finally stop with the advocacy and go back to my roots. And I decided to finally launch my podcast, which is called Let's Talk Uncensored. And I can talk about things that really matter to all of our lives. Marriage, children, divorce, great sex. There's no one saying it from a female perspective without a woke agenda, who has common sense values and Judeo-Christian values. So I'm just going to plug it. If you want to check it out, it's called Let's Talk Uncensored. It's available on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple. It's really time because I don't feel I have my cultural needs, my lifestyle content needs met. There's so many of us who became conservative-minded later in life, and we're the ones who are going to the school board meetings. We're the ones campaigning for our friends, and we need great content also. So the other thing that turned me from woke to awake, which may surprise a lot of you, I was in a 16-year marriage. It produced 3 beautiful children, but I eventually did have to make the hard, difficult choice to step off the marriage platform. I was so naive to the family court system. It is anything but for the family. Who can relate to divorce, whether you went through it or someone else has been through it, and how corrupt and horrible the system is? Okay, so a bunch of you. It's no fun. The family court system is not for the family. It's a win-lose environment. So if you go into it thinking, I'm going to be the fair one, I'm going to compromise, I'm going to put the best needs of the children first, you will be eaten alive. And I saw with my ex-husband, who was very angry at me, no matter what I offered him, it didn't matter what amount I would take or not take, it didn't matter anything. He was still angry. So do I give him everything? Would it still change his empowered victimhood? No. What is true freedom? Your own personal accountability, your own ability to build your resilience and forward think. And I realized that is true freedom. Because do reparations to Black people, you think that's going to work?
No.
No. Louder, please.
No.
Okay. Do you think land for peace in Israel with the Palestinians is going to work? No. If you don't have an internal shift where you're no longer the victim, you no longer blame the other, you will be a victim all the way to your grave. You cannot change an empowered victim's mentality. You cannot appease them. You cannot do their biddings. You cannot compromise, because it will never be enough. And with that, I became a free thinker, and I never looked back. Thank you.